Welcome to Trading the Close on this Monday. I'm Toni Valliere with Verified Investing, and here is what's making headlines today. 𝗡ście𝗿𝗱𝗩𝗡 has agreed to buy oil driller Crown Rock for $12 billion. Macys shares surge after receiving a $5.8 billion buyout offer. And the Consumer Price Index report will be released tomorrow. It comes one day ahead of the Federal Reserve's last policy decision of the year. Let's get a quick check of where things stand right now, just minutes before the market close. We are seeing green across the board. The S&P 500 up 16 points, the Dow up 147, and NASDAQ up 20 points at this hour, just minutes before the close. My special guest today is verified investing trader and seasoned crypto trader, Paul Sampson. Paul, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. Tell us, what are some of the big market movers that you're following today? I know Macys and SIGA are two of them.
Yeah, absolutely, Toni. Thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure. And we've got a nice, explosive day once again, both to the upside for stocks and to the downside for crypto, which is, always an interesting thing to view here. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here. We're going to take a look at Macys, as you just kind of alluded to there. And, a couple of things for me, I view things on a range perspective based on volume. So once again, on the last episode, we were talking about that fixed range volume profile tool, right? Where it's a free tool on TradingView. You can kind of highlight certain areas of the chart, and it's going to give you the volume, the value area essentially. So I'll touch on this quite a bit. I break this down into time frames, so you can do this for structural purposes, or you can actually base this on a weekly, a daily, a monthly, a quarterly, so on and so forth. So just a little overview on that. The highest volume node, which is what you see here, this white line, is known as the point of control. So you'll hear me touch on that quite a bit. And that's the highest traded area, right? So this is where the most amount of money exchanges hands. So a pretty good volume target, within the range. And I'll, just kind of give a brief view there, and then we'll touch on what I'm looking at Macys. So one thing to note here is that, on a trader's perspective, when you're looking at the market in the sense of anybody entering, looking for new positions, obviously we've got the news kind of paired up with it right now. We had a really nice setup here, which is where you come down and you essentially, very briefly, but we took the lows of last quarter. So for quarter 3 of this year, anyone that was entering positions, potentially had a stop loss below this level here. We came down, we just very briefly took it, and that really sets you up with the fuel for a move to the upside. So from there, some targets that you'd be looking for. I'll kind of zoom it out a little bit here and look and see what we're looking at. So I've highlighted a quarterly range here. So that, once again, that fixed range volume profile tool, I'll go ahead and kind of highlight the value area that I'm looking at. So that's all this white here, and essentially that's 70%, the highest traded volume of that region, known as the value area. And then you've got the point of control here. One thing to note is that this is a naked point of control, or was beforehand. And what that means is that this area had, this time frame had closed off. And as you can see here, we never returned to that point of control quite yet. So it's a very nice high, volume target to come back to at some point, especially once we re-enter these ranges. And essentially that's what we've done here today, right? So zooming out a little bit more here, looking at a potential gold pocket retrace from that last high to the low, puts us into this range. And then from there, we've, obviously seen a move higher than that and into that naked point of control. So our volume target so far has been met on Macys. You got some really nice news here that's going along with it. You had a really good setup as we took the lows going into it. The only thing to point out is now you got a little bit of a gap down below us. So a pullback in this region, potential, definitely something you want to be aware of. This was actually a really good move, which is, about a month now, and this is about 100% move to the upside. So major target's been hit, really big move to the upside, gap down below us. A pullback would have to be anticipated at this time.
It's
However,
inevitable.
we could still continue out to the range.
Right, I'm learning. I've been taking the course. Yes, and the gap will eventually need to be filled. What about SIGA?
Yeah, absolutely. So SIGA is another one, and it's really interesting to me when you have I really heavily focus on the crypto market, and generally the both of them move in tandem. But there's times when they just don't. And it's, definitely one of those times right now. And even last week, we had times where Bitcoin was just pushing and the, stocks were kind of flat or even getting pullback. And now it's, flipped again. SIGA with a massive gap up today, right? So, similar to what I was just looking at on the quarterly note, we came down just for last month. So, when you're thinking about this too, it's anybody that's entering a position from the whole month of November, they've gotten lucky. They've been holding on by the skin of their teeth if they're in a long position, for example, and they had a stop loss more than likely at the recent low. And we came down and we took that low for the month. So now you stopped out an entire month of positions across the board. And then, of course, once again, you get this nice big move to the upside that really does push people to re-enter the market as they kind of have that FOMO, right? Because now they were already in their long position. They got stopped out right before the move, and they tend to kind of just funnel back in. Area to look for me is, once you take a certain low, likely to rotate to the high. So our November high is up here at 320. However, it's once again probably not the area I'd be entering or something I'd be chasing by any means. We had a nice, gold pocket retrace that you already ran through as well. But yeah, I could see, SIGA actually popping up back to, the November high of potentially 320. But just do be aware that we have, pretty big gap down below us here.
Well, it is a perfect day to have you on as all eyes are on Bitcoin after seeing it lose nearly a week of gains in just minutes. So what do you make of this? What do you think is fueling the slide?
So I know that on a news basis, which, for me, I'm a technical trader through and through, right? So I'm going to look at it from a technical perspective. I can definitely give you the answer on that. The news today is that I believe that Elizabeth Warren had, just announced a new, crypto crackdown bill. Obviously, the hit came out yesterday or last night after the new week opened. So for crypto, the market is 24/7, but there is still a close and an open. It just is instantaneous. So it's 7 p.m. Eastern right now. It used to be 8 p.m. when daylight savings, but it's 7 p.m. Eastern. Would be the close. Obviously, that is the new open as well. So on the weekly time frame, that's when we open also. So last night, I'll go ahead and cover this as well. So I've been kind of going over those, quarterly lows and that monthly low, and then just kind of looking at that. And one of the big things as a trader that I look at on Bitcoin is the previous week range. So I'm just going to kind of zoom in or zoom it out a little bit here just to kind of point out what we've been doing. And, all along this way, you've been building and building and building, and everybody's been looking for a pullback. And it just has not been coming, right? So longs entering, more than likely around all these levels, or potentially anybody that's been long had stop losses down below these regions. And you kind of pointed it out that a whole week of gains had been, erased. And once again, looking at a range basis here, you can pull up the previous week, and it's really important to kind of look at. And I have all this highlighted down below. I was going to take it off, but I do want to point out that there is a lot down below us that, we still could really fill out. So it's one of those times where it's a tough area to enter depending on your strategy, right? Like if you're going to be short or looking for your Bitcoin to ride into the next couple of years, you're probably going to get another chance at a little bit lower. And I would say, all the way probably back down to like this 35, 33 region. It just might be a little bit of time here in the next coming weeks. And we could also still fulfill a little bit higher up to 46, right? So that's like the mid to high time frame idea at the moment. But what we were looking at here is that we opened up the new week. You had all this excitement, everybody just funneling in. The weekends are usually, full of the altcoins just going wild, right? So it's like Bitcoin kind of closes slightly over the weekend. You see this like kind of steady sideways action. Once the CME futures closes, it's one of the only things listed. Altcoins go crazy over the weekend. Everybody gets excited. And then on top of that, if Bitcoin gets this pullback, all the altcoins get wiped. So all we did here was simply come back down to our last week's low, right? We haven't actually effectively taken it, at least on the chart I look to is Bybit. Binance, however, we have, so just something to note. And then we are seeing a little bit of a bounce here. So in theory, similar to that November SIGA chart we were just looking at, the recipe is here. And let me see if I can pull up the Binance chart really quickly. Might not have, oh, I do have it. Okay, so perfect. All right, so the recipe is here to run it back now, right? So now we've come up. I'm going to go ahead and highlight this weekly low. And oh no, once again, okay, it didn't take the low on that either, so I apologize. But yeah, so it's a really big just kind of thing to keep in mind, and you can set these up every single week. I tend to do it every single every single week on Sunday nights, right before the close, because it's something to really be mindful of in the sense of when you're looking to enter new positions. The ideal area is going to be to look for those previous, month lows, those previous week lows. We have our previous week range that obviously was just immediately melted through. And now, yeah, so I'd be looking to see if we come actually down and effectively take that low. It's right at 40K too, which is a pretty good that like mental level, right? That where everybody really tends to put a stop loss down below or gets really worried and freaked out if we were to start breaking below.
Yeah.
But at the moment, that
A
that
lot of
would really
emotion with
be.
this one.
It really is, but the
Yeah.
the setup is here. I think that it's definitely a technical setup that we come back down to last week's low. More than likely, we rotate the range once again back to the high. 46K is still a major target for me above, and yeah, we have a lot of fuel there now, and potentially if we dip a little bit lower right here, I think that would be just enough to push us up in that region.
All right. Well, good to hear. We will be keeping an eye on that. I know you will as well. You are our crypto guy. So real quickly, 30 seconds left. Can you tell us where Ethereum and Solana stand right now?
Yeah, so Solana actually, or I'm sorry, Ethereum here looks a lot better to me. And I kind of keep in mind that Bitcoin obviously can still move a little bit lower here. But when looking at Ethereum, a really perfect setup here. We started the same thing. I know once again, I have all these levels marked here, but we had a really nice move here. Came up, we took the highs right here. We closed our week. So now our new previous week range is set in stone. We came down, took our previous week low. So you basically just washed both sides of the market for a whole week, back tested our November high, and now we are living back within our previous week low here, right? So we've come back down, we're back testing this high. So the recipe, once again, similar to Bitcoin, is we got the run back to that previous week level there, which is at 2,400. And overall, my target next for Ethereum is up here at 26, which is basically the next golden pocket from the retrace from last year. Solana, on the other hand, it came into, and this is the thing, like with Solana, I know that everybody gets really excited about this one. This is a big emotional one. I was in this one from the $12 region as let me go ahead and highlight this. So we were at the low of a quarterly range here for quite some time, and we had a yearly target up here. This is the average of price for the entire year of last year, basically. So when think about like a moving average, the 50-day, 200-day, those are actively moving, they're dynamic. This is something that's set in stone. This was 100% the average of price for last year. That's never going to change. And generally, we come back to it within the next session, which is this year. We did come up to it finally. And realistically, living above it is like flipping the 200-day moving average. So in theory, there's more upside here as long as we're living above it. We've come up and we've back tested that average now. Once again, probably not the first thing I'd rush into, as this is seen 900% almost this year.
Wow.
But if we do start floating up, it's 80, it's 95, and then 110 is the next range above us.
That's incredible. Love getting your perspective, Paul. We do have a busy rest of the week. CPI data tomorrow, the Fed's meeting on Wednesday, and then Super Thursday with the European Central Bank meeting. We will be following all of that. Anything that you will be focusing on specifically for tomorrow regarding stocks and crypto? What should investors be looking at?
Yeah, I mean, it's just you want to see Bitcoin as far as a crypto side of things. You want to see Bitcoin start living, back above that 42,200 region for any more upside at the moment. And then as far as stocks go, to me, I pay attention with the stocks and I follow them up, but they're saucy right now. I guess you could say frothy at the best. So there's still probably some upside because I do see some for crypto as well. But yeah, it's just just pay attention and see how things go. We are coming up to the end of the year, end of a quarter, so it's some interesting times.
Exactly. It is December. All right, Paul Sampson, thank you so much for your time and your perspective. We appreciate it. And you can watch Paul and head trader Ben Poole break down the latest trends and movements with crypto and stocks on their show, The Bottom Line. It airs every Friday at 4 p.m. right here on the Verified Investing YouTube channel. And that does it for Trading the Close on this Monday. I'm Toni Valliere. Have a great rest of the day.